Bonjour,
Melendez.
Melendez.
I almost said bonjour, Frenchy. I don't know why. In any
Works either
event,
way.
welcome. This is Frenchy the Creep. I'm Steve Lawrence. I'm Frenchy. With me today is...
I'm George the Creep.
I love that I said with me today, as if like I do it at the show with anybody else but you.
Maybe.
For those of you tuning in for the first time, this is a spin-off of VCR Party with the Found Footage Fest. Normally, I'm directing VCR Party, and George is our resident VHS detective. George, what am I forgetting to tell the people?
Let's see. Well, the basis of the show is that Nick and Joe are set to tour to celebrate the release of their Volume 9 Found Footage Festival compilation of great video-based clips. When a global pandemic you may have heard about hit, changing their plans and really everybody else's plans. So Steve and I are devout supporters of their work and wanted to preach their gospel and hopefully get some folks into the Super Long Play Club and maybe have them become patrons if they're so inclined.
That's right. The Super Long Play Club is on foundfootagefest.com. It's got so much of their, basically almost all their volumes. And I know Glenn, who helps the guys out, is putting up the remainder of them.
And it's all VHS-based greatness. The video we'll be reviewing today is Volume 2 of the Found Footage Festival from 2007, which features Nick and Joe live in Minneapolis. So what do you make of the cover?
So we discussed it a little bit on this week's VCR Party, and Joe says he is not a fan of it because he felt like they made him too good looking, and he felt guilty about the way he looked in it. They took away his chins, they took away everything, and just didn't feel like it was him.
Well, it's sort of like the inner Joe. It's the beauty. It's the inner beauty.
I feel as though it's it almost looks like if he was a Walking Dead character. Like, I don't know why I feel like that,
I could see that happening.
For the comic book, but in any event, that's for some reason it reminds me of that.
Who knows how this whole thing's going to play out? Maybe Joe will become a Walking Dead character. Well, anyhow, let's get to the video. You'd mentioned you have some thoughts about the way it was filmed. It definitely looks more rudimentary than the later volumes.
The one thing that is just so pronounced to me is the fact that they have the projector basically gives Joe like these weird eyes throughout the entire thing. So I felt like they set up the how they were going to normally do their show, and they didn't change it at all for video. So Nick is in the shadows for 90% of it, and Joe is getting blasted by the projector that is playing the.
Well, that's a great metaphor for the way the show VCR Party is run. Joe is taking up all the oxygen, and Nick is in the shadows, pulling the strings, moving the show along. So let's start off by showing the IMDb entry, if you don't mind. What other film can say that its cast includes Joe Pickett, Nick Pruer, Jack Rebney, and Patrick Swayze? And you'll note that has an IMDb rating of 7.6. It's some other films of note that have a rating of 7.6 include Gen X staple Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, Oscar winner The Hurt Locker, Lon Chaney's 1925 seminal Phantom of the Opera, and of course, timely tie-in Tiger King also has a 7.6. So you know already that this video is worth your time. For me, overall first impressions, I'm going to say that I think this might be my favorite one. For some reasons we'll get into. What I thought was funny is this is Volume 2, and they already said we're going to open with a Found Footage Festival classic.
I noticed that right off the bat, yeah.
Before we get into the new lineup, we want to start off with a Found Footage Festival classic.
And so it opens with clips from Winnebago Man, Jack Rebney, as you almost certainly know already if you're watching this. These are outtakes from a Winnebago video guide with a furious and profane host.
The Winnebago Concepts and Engineering Departments have developed a multifunctional bathroom. Privacy, I don't even know what the fuck I'm reading.
I wonder what the fuck the real dialogue is.
What the fuck is this thing?
All of the windshield, for fuck's sake.
Oh, fuck. What the fuck did I say?
And there's a lot of clips in here I hadn't seen before.
Yes.
And they're pure gold. One thing that we should develop is a talking GPS with a Jack Rebney voice option. I think that's something that would be a helpful app for them to create, because
Yeah.
I would like to hear where I'm supposed to go, as well as a bunch of obscenities.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm 100% with you.
So what were some of the things you liked?
Well, Stairway to Stardom is one that I've always liked every single time.
We've got singers and dancers and actors performing for you. But there's more, so much more, and it's all right here for you.
I have in my notes, Don Costello equals George, question mark.
This is Don Costello. Do you want to hear him sing a song?
This is the show's resident comedian, Don Costello.
I want to see how you
Yikes.
feel about that. The
Not
resident
great.
comedian, the resident
Not great.
comedian that they occasionally bring out. I'm like, George, there might be some similarities there.
Well, I'm going to work on it to try to become closer to him.
We got to see Show Us Your Raviolis
Right.
came out
right.
here, which is, if everyone who's watching VCR Party, if you're familiar, but
Any Italians out there? Yeah. Come on, let's see your raviolis. Show us your raviolis.
yeah, no, that's tough. I always get cringeworthy. Like I had, a lot of friends, especially when I first moved to New York. I used to intern at Conan O'Brien, so a lot of people who worked there, and a lot of like the other interns were trying to become stand-up. So I used to go to a lot of open mic stand-up shows and things like that. And when someone is bad, it is like you just want to crawl under the table and just.
What era would that have been?
Late '90s, early aughts.
Okay, so Amy Poehler was already gone, right?
So I worked with Amy on the Upright Citizens Brigade. So Amy was on Conan as Andy's little sister at that point.
Right. That was where I first saw her when I was in college. I thought I
Yes.
loved that character.
Yes, and so she was there. She was playing that, and like Besser would come in. He'd play. I'm pretty sure. So occasionally they'd pull interns out, and I got to play a, in like desk drive and things like that. Like I got to play a cow that I believe was Matt Besser who shot me.
Oh, that is so
he was
awesome. I got to
no,
find
I
that
shot him.
footage.
I shot him. Sorry, this is obviously a long time ago. This is 20 years ago. And what happened was he was holding a sign that said, "Meat kills, meat kills, meat kills." I walk up in a cow costume, put a gun to him, and shoot him.
Oh, I can't wait till after we're off of recording. I want to hear all the stuff behind the scenes. We're all trying to get to the center of Steve, and we're peeling back the onion, and another layer revealed.
Yeah. No, I have a lot of good stories, a lot of good memories, and I'm still friendly with a lot of, well, maybe not a lot, but I'm still friendly with a number of people on that show.
Great. So I believe up next we had the rap montage.
Yeah, those are always, speaking about cringeworthy, uncomfortable.
Eyes, those big eyes, let's come to the number one bug.
Only serve a great looking patty. Never serve a burger that's looking ratty. But if something goes wrong and your burger's not right, there's no need to get uptight. If the dry burn broken or incomplete, that baby turns into chili meat.
All kinds of rappers you have met, but a rapping Jewish mama, a death not yet.
I was going to ask you, is that from
Grill
Volume
Skill.
1? Yeah.
Yep.
Is it Grill Skill Volume 1 or Volume 2?
Volume 1.
Okay.
Grill
You
Skill
have the
2
answer.
is the Sister Sam.
Okay.
She makes an appearance, but as we learned on an episode of VCR Party, the Tracy Finnerty, who played Sister Sam, was actually the writer for the lyrics and the music for both volumes. So she was behind the rap. So maybe we'll have her on at some point.
That would be amazing. I think that's what we should do. That's one thing we should talk to. Once again, we're doing this Joe Pickett style, so there's no real plan for this. We're just kind of going out and just shooting. One thing we have been talking about is doing, some deeper dives into, rather than just, kind of replay a lot of the stuff that you can get just from watching it, is trying to find some deeper dives and to talk to people that are involved. So we're hopefully going to elevate and dial in Frenchy the Creep a little bit more. Were there any other raps that stood out to you? I mean,
Average Homeboy, was it, or something?
Yeah.
Was it?
I get up every morning and make my own bed. I'm down to earth. I don't have a big head.
Well, there's also, like, I think I'm going to mispronounce his name, Jean Lajoie. He was on The League and a couple other things, but he had like a viral video that was something like that, except done really well.
I work in customer service for a phone company. I make $12 an hour, but that's all I need.
So what are some other things you were that called out to you this time?
Well, the manager's montage, or I think it wasn't really manager's montage. What do they call it? The boring montage?
Boring montage?
Yeah, the boring montage.
Want to have you do something that would really help me a lot. And I think it would be of some real benefit to you individually and collectively over time. And
at this point, I'd like to.
This is a PowerPoint presentation.
He's going to kind of walk you through some nuts and bolts that I hope you'll find interesting in terms of how we run our.
I think you guys are going to like this. Watch the guy in the black shirt.
Watch this part here. This is pretty neat. Okay, there he goes. He's reaching for his can of soda.
He's drinking his
can of Diet Coke. And now he's putting it back down on the desk.
Thanks, Bob.
That was one. It just reminded me of, Joe's tedium corner. Like, you see so much of his tedium coming out in early ways before he didn't have a way to express it, but he would still, like, he just loves to just chomp down on some of the most mundane stuff and just find unique stuff. In the Moose video, like, they always go crazy about the triple Pepsi. Is that what they have with the triple Coke sip? Or triple Diet Coke? I don't know. I have to look, but they have that. Watched it so many times, and they just get that minutia, just watching, and they're like, "Oh, here's this little thing where he picks up the pen at this one moment," and it does make it fun when you're playing along with it. Rejuvenique had a big role in this.
Right. This was along with a sort of a montage of health and beauty products, instructional tapes.
One thing I noticed is the Bob Hedges mouth exerciser that he bought for Joe and Nick. Mm-hmm. That is very much featured in this one.
They include the Flowbee, which is, of course, has turned into the most important device to have during a pandemic.
Oh! More of the Chicago dancing show, Chick-A-Go-Go.
What's great here is that there's great clips of Nick and Joe appearing on stage there, and
there was a video that they showed earlier in the episode with Harvey Sid Fisher, but for one of the Signs of the Zodiac that he sang to, someone was dressed up as a female cat, and then of course Joe then calls it back for when they did El Train in Chick-A-Go-Go, and at the same time Nick is calling back to Rejuvenique. So it just made for a lot of fun, and they got into it. They got down.
They did. I think they should dance regularly on the show.
I have a challenge for you. Okay. I want you and I to go to Chicago, and we're going to Chick-A-Go-Go.
Will you be costumed?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, that'll be part of it. I mean, this is something we got to give ourselves stuff to look forward to for after quarantine. Trying to get back to the normal. This is one of the things. So you got to join me on this one.
All right, maybe we'll dress up in the same costumes that Nick and Joe dressed up at.
I'm gonna leave it as a surprise. Okay. I'm going to allow it, but yeah.
Maybe I'll go as the credit clown.
Yeah, I like it. Happen. You could go as. By the way, we saw how many characters was in the video that you did. Was it 13 different Georges?
It was 15 total.
15. So you have 15 characters to choose from already. We'll get some Melindas to go with us, and we'll just take over Chick-A-Go-Go.
Wow, sure.
For the day, and we will just dance it up.
I'm there.
Awesome.
Time for the news segment. Armchair analysis with George the Creep. So, Joe, It's simplistic for us to think of Joe Pickett as just a champion of the gross out, of conflict, of tedium. I realize now Joe has an underlying philosophy. He reveals and revels in the chaos and madness that is overlooked but omnipresent in so-called polite society. He's pushing at the very seams of civilization to make it burst. Joe is the brave man-child that speaks out while all others remain silent. He screams, "The Emperor has no clothes," and then shoves Batman cereal up the Emperor's ass. On our next episode, Nicholas Scott Brewer, man or Melmacian?
Wow, that is a lot. I love this new segment. Look forward to seeing it more. So a reminder, please, if you can, check out Joe and Nick's Patreon page. With that, at $10 above, you're going to get all the stuff on all the EP modes that they've done, deeper dives, a lot of fun video content, and it really helps the guys out. As we all know, their Volume 9 tour got postponed. All right, George, what else do we need to tell the people?
Let's see, just a beginning of a very brief news segment in which we recommend great episodes of VCR Party that merit a rewatch. And I watched the first 70 or so episodes at least twice when I was editing together their commercials earlier this year, or maybe middle of last year. So I feel like I have some authority here, and my number one pick for VCR Party Live is episode 22, the Rejuvenate Game Show. So if you're looking for an old one to watch, I highly recommend that one because it lets everybody know, it provides everybody with some insight into the question that I believe I raised last time. It undergirds their entire enterprise. If Joe lives to cause Nick pain, how much pain is he willing to endure himself to make that happen? And I can tell you that the first time I watched this, I was in tears. The second time I watched it, I may have also been in tears. It was just you hear in their voice, you can't fake what they're doing, which is shocking their faces with Rejuvenate face masks. But anyhow, next time you can suggest an episode, we can go back and forth between our memories of the show. And
that'd be a lot of fun. And then what are we going to watch next week?
I picked 2, so I believe this is up to you.
Oh boy. Let's do 6. We haven't done 6,
okay.
Right?
We have not.
All right, let's do 6. Yeah, I have no reason. I don't know anything about it. I don't know what's in it, so we'll just dive in and figure it out. Thanks again, George, for doing this with me. I hope everybody out there, I hope you're safe. I hope all the Belindas out there are safe. Everyone's being smart. And until we can see again, my nose isn't full of yuck anymore.
Only through the magic of Hollywood.